Hello everyone and welcome to the King of the Ring podcast. I'm your host Anthony and joining me yet again is my co-host Michael. How are you doing, Michael?
Alright, thanks.
So on today's episode of the King of the Ring podcast, we're going to be talking about our top 5 favourite wrestlers of all time. So we were just discussing before we started recording what we could do for the new episode. And we thought, why not go with something like a top 5 list? Because we can talk about it, and we can engage you, the viewer, or the listener rather, into the discussion. So, what we're going to do, Michael, is I'll go with. They're not necessarily going to be in numerical order.
Yeah.
But they're going to be. You can imagine just the top 5 list in general, no numerical order, anything like that. Unless you would want it to be in numerical order. But what I want to do is I'm going to go for one first, then you, me, you, that sort of thing. So,
I'm just trying to find where I put them.
The first person on my top 5 list of all time, for me, is Cesaro. Now, Cesaro is he's only been in WWE a little while now, and probably about a year or so, right? Pretty much. And he was amazing, but when he first started, I watched a lot of his indie stuff, like when he was in like all the sort of like lesser known wrestling companies, and I watched a lot of his top 50 or 100 moves of Antonio Cesaro, and I was just blown away by how good this guy was in the ring. His physique looked spot on. He had the complete strength. I mean, recently he's added in new moves to his thing, like that deadlift suplex, which is amazing. But Cesaro, for me, if he's given the right push and the right gimmick and everything like that, I think he could be a potential amazing world heavyweight champion. I think he could be awesome. He's got the physique. I think if you work on his mic skills, and you make him, I don't know, like an interesting gimmick, I think he could really do quite well. So that's the first entrant on my top 5 list, is Antonio Cesaro. So Michael, do you want to go with your first entry on the list?
I've gone with JBL, most particularly because it's in no particular order, by the way. Mainly because he knew how to sort of get a negative reaction to crowds.
He was a good heel.
He was one of the best heels I think I've ever seen, and as well as that, he was also in a pretty cool tag team in his earlier days with Farouk in the APA.
Definitely.
That was probably one of the best sort of tag teams around that era.
That entrance music was awesome.
It was so good. I loved it.
I used to love that sort of the whole style of the APA. I used to think it was awesome. But you had the Acolytes before.
Yeah.
I wasn't really super struck on the Acolytes.
Yeah.
I think the newer thing at the time when they brought in the APA just suited them perfectly, and
it just took over them.
It did, aye. So do you maybe want to like talk about anything particular about JBL, or?
I would definitely.
I just want a little brief thing about him.
Like I said, he knew how to get a crowd definitely riled up and everything. Obviously in a negative way.
Yeah.
Which is what was so great about him, because obviously when I seen him in 2004, I think it was when he won the WWE title.
Yep.
That reign basically saved SmackDown, and it just brought meaning back to the belt, because
that's when SmackDown was good.
Yeah, it brought meaning back to like SmackDown as well, because
it did.
He beat a Mexican for the WWE title, so you know,
exactly the best way to win the belt. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I like JBL, but he's not in my top 10 list. I like him, but for me, he just wasn't. He wasn't that for me. You know what I mean?
We're only doing 5 today.
Yeah, we're only doing 5. Maybe a top 10 in the next couple of weeks. If you guys want it in the comments, make sure to leave a comment if you do. So I think I'll go on to my next one. Yet again, they're not in numerical order, and I'm going to go for The Undertaker. Now, for me, I've watched so much of The Undertaker growing up. Obviously in the WWF at the time,
You said it.
and basically he's sort of Undertaker gimmick then, and then he's biker gimmick, the American Badass.
That was such a cool gimmick, that.
And then back to the sort of Undertaker gimmick.
Yeah, the dead man gimmick.
And over these years, he's just put on some of the best matches I've seen in quite a long time. He's such an awesome guy. If you listen to his interviews, and obviously he's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
He knows his shit, and he's so well respected. And I respect him most of all for what he's done for the business and everything like that. He's good in the ring. He's good on the mic. His characters are always good. And for me, when you have those three ingredients, you're just bound for success. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely do.
Good on the mic, good gimmick, good in the ring. That's a winner right there. You know what I mean? So for me, the Undertaker, he's always been up there for me. Always up there, and he always will continue to be up there until someone comes along who maybe becomes better than him. But that's going to be hard to do, you know. So do you want to go with your next one then, Michael?
I think it's going to be quite hard to top the Undertaker, but although he's out of my top 5 because I've went for different ones, I guess, and I've went for Shawn Michaels.
Oh, can he? Aye.
He actually, to me, I've known him, well, not personally, but I've watched him.
He's a good mate at the podcast.
Yeah, I was out drinking with him not too long ago.
Saturday night.
Yeah, but his showboating and crowd pleasing abilities were second to none.
Yeah, he knew how to work the crowd.
He knew exactly what he was doing in the ring, and he was just such a good superstar as well. He, as well as sort of good at entertaining the crowd, he was also good at putting on a hell of a good match. Because I think he was like...
He's had some mint matches.
He's had some amazing matches, and
he has.
I would rate them all at 5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars.
5-star frog splash.
But I mean, for me, his whole gimmick and everything was just awesome. You know,
it fit his character as well, I thought.
It
doesn't matter what you thought.
And his whole sort of gimmick thing sort of stayed the same throughout the years. Obviously, when he changed his mind religiously, and after he was injured and stuff, he still kept the same thing about him, and that was awesome. And
he was still known as the showstopper and the heartbreak kid.
For me, he was literally probably just out of my top 5, like number 6 probably.
5.5.
Exactly. So the next one for me I want to talk about is Jeff Hardy.
Good shout.
For me, when I was younger, when I was a young kid, I used to love Jeff Hardy. Like, his flips, all of his moves, high flying moves, you know, his whole gimmick at the time with the Hardy Boys, all that sort of stuff used to settle right on with me. And obviously, after about 2005, I stopped giving a shit about him. But
yeah, because he didn't really go a great deal. Like they didn't do much with him after that, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think when you sort of have had the same gimmick for a long time, obviously people might get bored of it, you know. And I think that's what happened maybe with John Cena, how everyone's always wanting him to change his gimmick slightly.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of what happened with Jeff Hardy, for a sense, that he had the same gimmick for a long time.
Yeah.
And I got bored of it when I got older, and I started wanting maybe something a bit different from him that I haven't seen before. And for me, his TLC matches were just amazing.
Didn't he have a heel turn at some point as well?
I think he did, yeah. I can't
remember
when.
Was that TNA though?
Yeah, that might have been in TNA, I'm not sure, but he was mostly a face in WWE and F at the time. And he's just awesome. I love the TLC matches with the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys. Edge and Christian, you know, it was so awesome, and that's what made us love Jeff Hardy. I mean, I'm not really super keen on him today, but he's always going to be in my top 5 because of what he did in the past. So,
yeah.
Do you want to move on to yours then? On to your next one?
I need to bring it up again because I keep forgetting who I've got in. Kurt Angle is my next one.
Oh well, that's a good shout. I didn't think of Kurt Angle. That's a good shout.
Yeah, yeah. He was obviously like second on the list, but I just want to talk about him in a different order because when you brought up the Undertaker, I had to kind of top it. So Kurt Angle
was good. I liked Kurt Angle.
Yeah, he had some pretty cool mic skills as well as the fact that he brought possibly the deadliest submission move in the game. I would think, anyway, the ankle lock.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the first ever Olympic gold medalist. Possibly one of the most well recognized songs that now just gets like. I think it was ruined by Edge when it just turned into "You Suck."
That was a good song, yeah. And then everyone was like, "You can't hear that song any different now."
Yeah, exactly. You cannot.
But Kurt Angle's definitely a good shout.
He is.
I mean,
first Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, he was such a wrestler.
Yeah, that's what I loved about him. His technical ability was just superb.
Like his wrestling was amazing. He had some great matches with Brock Lesnar. He could make someone who wasn't good in the ring look good in the ring in a match with Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
And you know, John Cena's debut against Kurt Angle, that was a good match. John Cena at the time was a rookie.
Yeah, he was. And his music at the time was proper jobber music.
Yeah, and he looked good in that match, Cena, at the time. Because Kurt Angle, you know, he let him beat him up. You know, he did some moves, made him look tough and whatever. And
although it did turn into a bit of a pinfall match for me, that Cena was just trying too many roll-ups.
Yeah, but that on a side note, but for you, Kurt Angle's definitely up there.
Which, of course, now you never see Cena do a roll-up.
Yeah. Or the occasional sunset flip pin, which is just like, what? But
doesn't bode well for a 250-pounder.
It doesn't. So the next one I want to talk about is Chris Benoit.
Damn it.
And for me, have you got him as well, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. We can both chip in then. So for me, I saw Chris Benoit on ECW, and watching the old DVDs of ECW because I wasn't alive then, and I was just mesmerised at how good he was in the ring.
He was absolutely brilliant.
He went to WCW. He did a bit there, and he looked good there. And when he came to WWE, and he was the Rabid Wolverine, and all of his work in the ring, it was just spectacular. He had some amazing matches. You know, he took a lot of risks, and
that flying headbutt concussed everybody basically.
It did, and he was just awesome in the ring. I love the Germans, the suplexes, all the wrestling moves, and obviously it was really sad to hear what he did at the time. And we always joke about Chris Benoit.
Double murder suicide.
But you know, it was sad to see him go. You know, but I suppose that's what happened when you have, you know, constant like head trauma. It will get to you, and you will, you know, obviously end up doing something like bad like that, and it's just a shame. I think that's probably spoiled his reputation overall with a lot of people. But for me, I remember him as the wrestler Chris Benoit.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's such a good wrestler in the ring, and you know, that won't change anything. The fact that he did that doesn't change the fact that I thought he was a good wrestler.
He was such a good wrestler as well. I remember one of the best moments.
Phenomenal matches.
I mean, if you want to remember Chris Benoit for something, WrestleMania 20 against DX members Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
That was a great match.
That was, and the ending of it, him and Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, it was an emotional moment at the end when you saw them both win.
It was, and then just like the hug and the sort of both of them crying their eyes out at each other.
And whenever I remember Chris Benoit now, I remember him in the ring then. He looked like a child at Christmas, and then to see him not have the chance to have the heavyweight reign, it was really sad. But for me, he's always up there, Chris Benoit. He's such a phenomenal technician in the ring.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to my last top 5 person, and that is Triple H.
Yeah, now, great shout.
For me, I've always loved Triple H. As soon as he went DX from his whole like sort of Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick, and he went to DX and he started doing the cerebral assassin and all that stuff. It was so cool. I love him. I love him face or heel, and at the minute he's the best heel in the company, and he's the bloody COO. And
yeah, you can't ask for a weirder combination, can you?
And I respect him a lot, and I think I respected him a lot more after I watched the documentary on him, and I saw how hard he worked and how hard the chances he took to get to where he was, and I respect him a lot more because of that.
Yeah.
And
some of the best memories I've got of Triple H were like as a heel, to be fair.
Yeah, and obviously the latter years he's slowed down. He's wrestling. Obviously he's got older and he's got a family and he needs to think about the business side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Triple H is always going to be in that top 5 for me. So, your last person in the top 5.
What?
Nice.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was by far one of the best superstars I've ever seen on the mic, in the ring. Some of the comebacks and insults that he had for some people, just whipping your candy ass. Oh man. Plus, as like when I watched him during the Attitude Era, some of his insults, the middle finger,
and
everything.
His matches were good as well.
They were. They were incredible.
I mean, he wasn't a super technician in the ring, but he could tell a good story through his wrestling in the ring and how he sold moves and how he did everything. And
yep, he definitely did.
I mean, for me, if I didn't have Jeff Hardy on that list, it would probably be Stone Cold.
Yeah, absolutely, because he is just a fantastic superstar.
Yeah, I mean the reason I didn't have The Rock and Stone Cold on because I thought it would be a bit too generic.
Yeah, it would be a bit too like sort of overrated sort of things.
Or sort of more obvious than overrated, but I think for me that he's definitely right under there. He's so good. I love Stone Cold and I love him now.
So I think people just put people like Austin and that in, like The Rock in for like their top 5s and stuff like that when they probably haven't seen too many of his matches, but
Yeah, I've watched a hell of a lot of his matches.
And, yeah, same here. I mean, I was basically born into that era.
Yeah, title matches, single matches, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. And he would do the job, and he's definitely one of my all-time favourites, but maybe not top 5. But yeah,
top 7.
Yeah, top 7. Yeah, him and Shawn Michaels 6 and 7. He'll be 6. Shawn Michaels 7. But
yeah,
I think hopefully in the future, guys, maybe on a future episode somewhere down the timeline, we might do a top 10 if you guys want us. Or we might do a future top 5 where we have to choose superstars who are in the business now and pick where they might be in our top 5 list. So that might be a cool idea for us to do. So remember, guys, if you have enjoyed it, please subscribe, leave a like, maybe share it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever you go on. We much appreciate. We will respond to all comments and stuff on the podcast or on Twitter. Our Twitter links are in the description, so if you want to follow us or tweet us about the show, then feel free to do that. So yeah, guys, that's another episode of the King of the Ring podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
So here's that.